MMA. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the most annoying UFC fighters. I think some of you guys are going to disagree with some of the people on this list. You might agree with some of the people that I believe are currently the most annoying UFC fighters, and for different reasons. Some for their fighting style, some for the way they talk. Some of these fighters are there for their entitlement. So I'm pretty sure you guys can guess which fighters I'm going to talk about in this video just based on the thumbnail alone. So before I get started, please make sure to like and subscribe. So let's get started with the first fighter. This list is Kamaru Usman, the guy that never fights and is incredibly entitled. Guys, I'm tired of Kamaru Usman. He goes on his podcast, whatever it's called, Pound for Pound, and says a bunch of nonsense. I think he's squatting on his ranking. He hasn't fought in 2 years. He's clinging on to a draw against Hamza Chimaev that happened 2 years ago, which I get it. You know, props to Kamaru Usman for taking that fight on short notice. But the guy hasn't fought since, and I believe he's ranked like number 3 or 2 in the welterweight division, even though he hasn't fought, even though he's 1-3 in his last 4 fights. Like, why is Kamaru Usman taking so long to fight, and why hasn't the UFC done anything about this? And the guy talks like he should be fighting for the title, like, oh no, these guys are not good enough to be fighting me. I'm a former champion, whatever. But like, dude, you haven't won a fight since 2021. The last time Kamaru Usman won a fight, I believe, was against Colby Covington, the rematch, which was November, I want to say 2021. I want to say that's the last time Kamaru Usman won a fight, which is incredibly pathetic. But like I said, the worst part about it is that Kamaru Usman just never fights. Like, the guy hasn't fought in so long. Like, there's guys moving up in the welterweight division. Right now, the weight class is incredibly stacked. I mean, we have a lot of contenders who could honestly fight for the title. I mean, we got Joaquin Buckley. We got Sean Brady coming off that win over Leon Edwards. We have, Ian Gary still there. Who else do we have? Jack Della Maddalena, a fight that was rumored for the longest time, and Kamaru Usman just never wants to fight. Like, I don't understand what Kamaru Usman is waiting for. And honestly, if they don't make Usman versus Joaquin Buckley this summer, I think Usman should be like removed from the rankings, removed from the UFC. Because what's the point, man? You're not even fighting. You're just squatting on your ranking, and you don't want to fight any contenders. You just want to fight for the title. When, like I said, you're 1-3 in your last 4 fights, and your wins are aging like shit. Like, obviously his best win is Colby Covington and Gilbert Burns, which is now aging like shit after Sean Brady beating Gilbert Burns last year. Now, I understand these fighters are definitely past their prime, but I think there's more to that than just, oh, Colby's washed or, oh, Gilbert's washed. Like, I feel like their fighting style has become a little bit outdated. I mean, we're seeing guys like Sean Brady, guys like JDM, who isn't necessarily like the most well-rounded, but have a lot of grit, have good boxing. Sean Brady seems like one of the best grapplers in the welterweight division, and I just feel like the longer Kamaru Usman waits to fight, the worse his legacy is looking like. Like, dude, get in the octagon, fight Joaquin Buckley, because at this point, we're all tired of it, and it's become incredibly annoying for Kamaru Usman just to wait on the sidelines, talk a lot of shit on his podcast about Bilal Muhammad and all these guys, but doesn't want to fight any of them unless it's for the right money. Like, dude, you're 1-3 in your last 4. Do I have to keep repeating myself? Like, stop being an entitled brat. Charles Oliveira, which pains me to say because I'm a big Charles Oliveira fan, but I have to keep it real. Charles Oliveira is getting on my nerves. When Chael Sonnen came out and said that Charles Oliveira does not want to take the fight against Ilia Topuria because, he just only wants to fight for the title. He doesn't want to fight Topuria unless there's a title on the line. I was like, you know what? Maybe Chael Sonnen is just making this shit up, right? Because Chael Sonnen likes to exaggerate. But no, guys, Charles Oliveira has come out in an interview and actually said that he doesn't believe Topuria is a big fight and he only wants to fight for the title, which is absolutely ridiculous. Now, I understand that Charles Oliveira did deserve that rematch initially against Islam Makhachev when he lost the title. Now, the UFC did give him the rematch after he beat Beneil Dariush. Now, Charles Oliveira, obviously he had a cut. The fight had to be removed. He pulled out of that fight. He decided to take the Armin Saryukin fight. He lost. And now he's coming off a win against Michael Chandler, who Michael Chandler hadn't fought in 2 years and only has 2 wins in the UFC and took him to a decision. So it's not like, In my opinion, Charles Oliveira should not be fighting for the title. He should be fighting someone like Strickland, who he's also ducking. Like, people have brought it up to him, like, dude, why don't you fight Armin Strickland? And he's like, nah, I'm not interested in a Strickland fight. Like, dude, you lost to him. Like, why wouldn't you be interested in getting that fight back? Which is something that I've been saying about Charles Oliveira, guys. I don't think Charles Oliveira is hungry anymore. I think he's made it, and I mean, props to him. To see how far he's made it from where he came from is obviously very impressive and is very good for his career. But in terms of his fighting career, I just don't think he's that hungry anymore. He doesn't want to fight Strickland. He doesn't want to fight Ilia Topuria. He wants to fight Makhachev because of the title on the line, even though nobody's interested in that fight because you just lost to Strickland less than a year ago. So Charles Oliveira, he's getting on my nerves. He doesn't want to fight Topuria. He doesn't want to fight Strickland. I mean, he already beat Gaethje. Nobody really wants to see that fight. Obviously, it would be a banger of a fight, but dude, we want to see fresh matchups. We want to see Oliveira potentially against Topuria. We want to see Oliveira versus a Strickland rematch. Like, you are not in a position to fight for the title when you just beat Michael Chandler and took him to a decision. A guy who hadn't fought in 2 years, who was waiting for Conor McGregor, and you just lost against Armin Strickland a year ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, you pulled out of your rematch with Islam Makhachev. The same thing just happened to Armin Strickland. Armin Strickland is not going to get the next title shot. Even though he's probably the rightful contender, he's not going to get the next title shot. But like, Charles Oliveira is just speaking with so much entitlement, and I don't understand where it's coming from because he's honestly one of my favorite fighters. Is Ian Machado Garry. I am tired of Ian Garry. I've been talking shit about Ian Garry for the past 2 years. I think this guy is incredibly overrated. I think he's so overrated in terms of his striking ability, in terms of his finishing ability. They talk like, I don't know, like they talk like he's Israel Adesanya. And I know a lot of us, like, we know, we've been saying that Israel Adesanya is also overrated, but like Ian Garry, honestly, I think he sucks as a striker. I don't think he's that good. I get it. He's tall. He's a little bit flashy. He throws really good kicks. But besides that, his boxing is very fundamental. He doesn't have a lot of power in his hands. He's afraid to engage. All he does is run in circles and throw a couple leg kicks a minute, and people think he's some striking genius. Like, I don't understand where this Ian Garry hype came from. And I mean, he's incredibly annoying as a person. And then on top of that, you know, he's coming off that Shavkat loss where he lost to a decision. He lost a decision to Shavkat Ramonov, and even though like a lot of us were like, man, Shavkat is not that good, he's definitely overrated. I mean, Ian Garry, he thinks that going to a decision loss against Shavkat is a win. Like, he's like, man, I should be getting the next title shot instead of JDM. Like, dude, why would you get the next title shot? I get it, you lost against Shavkat, but mainly due to nothing really happening from both sides. Like, when you rewatch that fight, you're not like, damn, Ian Garry's so good. You're like, damn, Shavkat isn't as good as I thought. He doesn't have enough output. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get it. Ian Garry did a good job of surviving and not really getting taken down all that much. But you still weren't even able to have that much success on the feet against Shavkat Ramonov. Like, Shavkat was actually landing the better combination. So there's nothing for you to be proud of. Nobody wants to see you fight for the title. And he's also acting like a very entitled welterweight. Like, dude, you should be calling out Sean Brady. You should be calling out Joaquin Buckley. You losing a decision to Shavkat Ramonov says more about Shavkat than it does about you. I'm going to be totally honest. A lot of you guys are going to disagree, and this is more of a personal vendetta against Michael Venom Page, another welterweight. Maybe I just have a problem with the welterweight division as a whole, but Michael Venom Page, his fighting style is incredibly annoying to me. He's so boring to watch. Like, I get it. People really hype up his striking, and he's definitely a very hard guy to fight on the feet. You know, he's very fast. But bro, in terms of entertainment, Michael Venom Page might be one of the most boring strikers we currently have in the UFC. One, he doesn't have any finishes. He couldn't even beat Kevin Holland all that convincingly. Like, it wasn't like even that much of a fun fight. His fight against Shara Magomedov, like, yeah, I get it. He outstruck Shara because Shara couldn't get his timing. But dude, that was boring to watch. Like, there's no way you can tell me that that's entertaining. Like, that's an entertaining striking style. Like, I don't understand this guy's hype. I want to see him get knocked out. I want to see this guy get submitted. I don't really understand the hype. Like I said, I just have like a personal vendetta with his fighting style. I'm sure he's a very nice guy and stuff like that. But man, I think he's one of the most annoying guys to watch in the UFC. is Sean Strickland. Now, I understand that obviously he just lost to Dricus du Plessis. Right now, Sean Strickland doesn't even have any fans. And I understand that, don't beat up a guy while he's down. It's kind of how I feel about Sean Strickland. But I still think he's one of the most annoying UFC fighters. And I don't really have a problem with his personality. Like, I know a lot of MMA fans are offended by some of the things that Sean Strickland says. I personally do not care. I just think his fighting style is incredibly annoying. It's horrible to watch. It's crazy how this guy doesn't even make that much adjustments. He's so good at what he does that he's become very one-dimensional. And, I mean, he's become kind of easy to beat. And it's annoying, man. I just think Sean Strickland, he talks too much in terms of hyping up his fights, and they don't really deliver. I mean, he had a terrible performance against Dricus du Plessis, and I get it. He's a little bit mad that his coach, went on Ariel Helwani and was kind of discussing the fact that he was so disappointed with Sean Strickland's performance. But I mean, dude, who would not be disappointed with the way you fought? You fought like garbage. You made absolutely no adjustments. And Dricus du Plessis was able to, outstrike you. He looked like the more technical fighter out there. And I just think Sean Strickland is just one of those very annoying fighters. I'm pretty sure he's going to ask for a big fight after losing to Dricus du Plessis, which I think he should be fighting like, I don't know, maybe an Anthony Hernandez. I don't know. He should be fighting an actual contender rather than a big fight, in my opinion. A lot of people want to see the Robert Whittaker fight. I don't really want to see that fight. I want to see Sean against a crazy, dangerous contender. I'm tired of this guy just being at the top of the weight class. He got a rematch after beating Paulo Costa. Paulo Costa, who was coming off a loss against Robert Whittaker. So, I don't know, man. Look, I know a lot of you guys are Sean Strickland fans. Like I said, I don't really have a problem with the things this guy says. But in terms of, like, his fighting ability, I just think he's one of the most annoying fighters to watch.